Hey guys, today we're making beef Negimaki. It's beef wrapped around scallions cooked in teriyaki sauce. It's a very popular item at Japanese restaurants here in the States, but it's also pretty easy to make at home. I'm going to show you how, so let's get started. For meat, we're using shaved beef steak. I get them at Trader Joe's, but I've seen them also at Stop and Shop. And we're using scallions. We're using about a third of a pound. The package is a pound of shaved steak. We're using a third of that. If you don't like scallions, a good alternative is actually asparagus. Here's a closer look at the shaved beef steak from Trader Joe's. It's these thinly sliced beef, has a nice marble fat in the muscle layers too. We're cooking it in teriyaki sauce, which is soy sauce, sake, and we're using sherry today. Usually it's sake, soy sauce, and mirin, but today I'm using sherry. It's 1 tablespoon each, soy sauce, sake, and sherry. And then we're adding 1 teaspoon of sugar. If it's mirin, you don't necessarily need sugar unless you like it sweet, but since we're using sherry, we're adding 1 teaspoon of sugar. So again, that's 1 tablespoon each of soy sauce, sake, sherry, and 1 teaspoon of sugar. We're using 3 pieces of scallions. This is for one person. It's gonna make about 5 pieces of beef. I'm just cutting the parts that I don't need. And then you want to cut the scallions, each pieces, into the same length. Then you cut the scallions in half, and then you just kind of alternate the sides so the thickness will be even from one end to the other. So that's all the cutting necessary. We're moving on to beef next. We're using plastic wrap. You get a nice chunk of plastic wrap. I'm just putting the piece of scallion there so I have a reference as to how spread out my layer of beef is going to be. You're going to take the shaved steak. When you take out of the package, sometimes they're folded, so you kind of untangle and make a nice sliced beef. Doesn't have to be one slice, you can put a couple in there. Just sort of make a nice base of beef. Just kind of be mindful of how large your scallion piece is. You want to have about an inch on both sides extra, and you make about 3 slices of beef. You lay it large enough to cover this scallion that's going to be in the middle. We're gonna wrap it once, just with these about 3-4 layers of beef. Just peel off the plastic wrap and make a nice roll. And the edges, the both sides, you want to wrap around and open. The first layer, you're going to have holes most likely, so this time we're going to focus on the holes. I put a couple of layers of beef there. I put a large enough beef to cover what I patched. I'm gonna roll again. Just go to make it tight a little bit. Open and check. I know there's one space there that I can still see some scallions through the beef, so I want to put a bit more beef there. Also edges, I want to have double, triple layers there. I'm going to wrap this. Now the scallion's completely covered with beef, but we're not done here. When you think you have covered the scallions with beef completely, you want to put one more layer of beef to make sure. The idea is to trap the flavors of beef, like beef juice and the moisture from scallions inside of this roll, so you don't want to have any holes that can seep out the umami of this dish. So I covered both edges once again. Edges are the weak link of this dish, if you may, so I focused on the edges at the end. I shape it into a nice cylinder, and I'm noticing there in the middle now there's a bit of like a thin spot. Not a thin spot, it's just not as even, so I'm making it into a nice cylinder shape. If you patch something, you want to have cover with large enough piece of beef. And then this is the final wrap and the roll. Just gonna shape it into a nice cylinder. You don't want to have too much space inside of this beef, so make it nice and tight. And then our beef is ready to cook. I forgot to record the pre-mixing of teriyaki sauce. Just take a bowl, take 1 tablespoon each of soy sauce, sake, sherry, and add 1 teaspoon of sugar and just mix them up. You want to set the stove at medium heat and heat up your pan. Once your pan is heated, put about 1 tablespoon of cooking oil. And you're going to put your beef in the middle of the pan. We're going to cook 4 sides, 2 minutes each. And you're going to put a lid on this and just let it cook at medium heat. So the first side is about to be done. You're going to open the lid, flip, and work on the next side. This first flip is usually the hardest, not hardest, but they kind of tend to roll. I mean, I like to do the opposite end, so I was just trying to get it done, but as long as you cook 4 sides, it really doesn't matter if they roll. Again, 2 minutes on this side with cover, and the 2 minute is done. Look at all those nice sear on the beef. Okay, and then you face down the side that hasn't touched the pan yet, and another 2 minutes. And we have 1 more sides to go. 2 more minutes. Now we cooked 4 sides. You're gonna open the lid. Just check to see if there are any areas that are still a bit undercooked. I'm pretty satisfied with what I have. So it's time to put the teriyaki sauce in there. I'm actually scraping off those beef flavor that's stuck on the pan. You want to get all the flavor onto the sauce. And then roll the beef around. Just cover all the sides and let the sauce sink in, also the edges. And you can also tilt the pan to make a pool of sauces and let the beef cook in there. You're going to cook for about a minute in the sauce. Just to get the flavors in the beef and also get a nice shine on the meat. So it's about a minute. It has a nice shine and the sauce is thickened. Turn off the heat and we're done cooking the beef. Now time to cut the beef. You don't have to cut the beef right away. If you're not going to eat right away, you can let it sit. If you're going to cut it right away, it's going to be very hot. So take a utensil or something and hold the beef while you cut it. Got the nice medium beef, and the scallions inside is also cooked nicely. Just take it onto the plate. Grab the sauce that's left on the pan. Use a spoon or anything you like and just cover the middle part with the sauce as much as you like. And our beef Negi-maki is ready to be eaten. Enjoy the food. Now here are keys to making this dish. The hardest part may be finding shaved steak. I know in the New York metro area, all the Trader Joe's I've been to, I've seen them. But that may be because we have a fairly large Asian population. If you can't find beef shaved steak, then you can just cut your own beef, but you want to make sure you cut them very thinly. You can also use chicken as an alternative to beef, in which case you want to cut your pieces of chicken very thinly too. Number two, cut the scallions in uniform length so the inside is going to be a uniform core. And number three, you want to completely wrap the scallions with beef, and when you think you're done, you want to put one more extra layer of beef so that you trap the flavors of beef and scallions or whatever vegetable you put inside in the beef while it's cooking. Thanks for watching.